They called me King of Kings, ruler of the greatest empire ever known. But what they never told you is how quickly gods can fall silent. I didn't lose Persia in battle. I lost it in whispers, in betrayal, in fear that wore my own crown. Tell me, what does a man become when his empire forgets to believe in him? The sun rises over Persepolis like a god greeting his reflection. Golden light spills across marble columns that stretch toward eternity. They stand not as monuments, but as declarations, that here, in this city of jeweled gardens and sacred fire, the world bows to one throne. I am Darius, third of my name, King of Kings, Lord of the Four Corners, son of the bloodline that built empires while the Greeks still squabbled over fishing villages. My court gathers beneath the hall of 100 columns. Governors from Babylon, satraps from Egypt, princes from Bactria. They kneel as I ascend the dais, robed in crimson and gold, the sacred fire burning at my back. This is the order of things. This is divine will made flesh. A messenger enters, dust still clinging to his tunic. His eyes betray urgency, but his voice remains steady. Great King, news from the west. A Macedonian warlord has crossed the Hellespont. The hall holds its breath. I smile, not with joy, with the patience of mountains watching rain. Another Greek with delusions of conquest, I say, my voice echoing through stone. Let him come, the desert has swallowed greater men. Laughter ripples through the court, relieved, performative. But I see it. There in the corner of my vision, a flicker. A satrap from Phrygia exchanges a glance with the governor of Lydia. Nothing spoken, everything understood. In the shadows beyond the firelight, ambition whispers to doubt. Loyalty cracks like sun-baked clay. That night, Statira finds me in our private chambers, staring at maps I've memorized since childhood. You dismissed him too easily, she says softly. He is a boy playing at war. Boys grow into kings, Darius, and kings who underestimate them fade into legend. I turn to face her, my queen, my mirror. She sees what I refuse to name. The gods have chosen Persia, I tell her. That is not pride, that is truth. She touches my hand, her fingers cool against my skin. Then pray the gods still remember which throne they chose. The sacred fire burns low. Somewhere beyond these walls, a young conqueror sharpens his sword. And I, King of Kings, ruler of the known world, feel for the first time the weight of a crown that no longer fits. I ride to war as my ancestors did, at the head of an army that stretches beyond sight. The plains of Issus shimmer under an unforgiving sun. My chariots gleam like beetles of gold and bronze, their scythes hungry for Macedonian flesh. Behind me, 100,000 men carry the weight of empires. Soldiers from Persia, Bactria, Egypt, lands whose names alone command reverence. This is how gods fight wars, with thunder and inevitability. Then I see him across the field. Alexander, a boy in armor too large for his frame, standing before a formation that should crumble at the sight of my legions. Yet his men do not waver. They move as one creature, breathing with a single purpose. The drums beat. The charge begins. Our chariots surge forward, a tide of iron and wrath. The earth trembles beneath 10,000 hooves. Victory is a heartbeat away. Then chaos. His infantry does not break. They wedge into our flanks like knives between ribs. Confusion erupts through my ranks. Orders dissolve into screams. My generals shout contradictions. The formation, so perfect moments ago, collapses into panicked clusters of men who no longer remember who they serve. I watch from my chariot as the center crumbles, and then I see it. Alexander himself, driving toward me like a comet through flesh. His eyes find mine across the carnage, not with hatred, with certainty. "Protect the king!" my guards cry, forming a wall of bodies between us. But something breaks inside me. Not courage, something deeper. The knowledge that this moment was written long before either of us drew breath. I turn, I flee, not from death, from truth. Behind me, the army scatters like startled birds, and in the chaos my world ends. My family, my mother, my wife, my daughters, gone, captured. Prizes for a conqueror's tent. Weeks pass like wounds that won't close. I summon what remains. Governors, generals, satraps who still answer my call. They arrive with practiced reverence, lips speaking loyalty while their eyes calculate survival. The Bactrian satrap promises 10,000 cavalry. The Babylonian governor swears the gods favor Persia still. But I see them after the council's end, whispering in shadowed corridors, their alliances already pivoting toward a future without my name. Betrayal tastes like ash. It coats every breath. A messenger arrives from Alexander's camp. He carries no threat, no demand for surrender, only news. My family lives. They are treated with honor. The boy conqueror has shown them kindness. This somehow cuts deeper than any blade. Statera, my Statera, sends word through secret channels. Her message is brief. Make peace. Save what can be saved. Our children need a living father, not a martyred legend. I hold her words until the ink blurs. That night I stand before my council. They wait for orders, for fire, for the wrath of a humiliated king. We will raise another army, I tell them. Bigger, better, we will meet him again. One of my oldest advisors, a man who served my father, speaks carefully. Great king, perhaps the queen's counsel. The queen, I interrupt, my voice cold as winter stone, is a captive. I am the king of kings and I do not surrender. Not to Greeks, not to boys who stumbled out of the northern mud thinking themselves gods. The council bows, but their eyes tell a different story. They have already chosen their new master. They simply haven't told me yet. Alone in my chambers, I stare at maps that no longer show an empire, only territories waiting to be lost. Duty, I once believed, was my compass, my purpose. Now it is my prison. And the bars are forged from pride I can no longer afford but cannot surrender. Somewhere in a Macedonian camp, my wife sleeps under foreign stars, and I, king of kings, ruler of nothing, prepare for a war I have already lost. The plains of Gaugamela stretch toward infinity. Night wraps the world in velvet silence. Above, stars burn with the indifference of gods who have seen empires rise and fall like breath. I kneel before the sacred fire, alone, as kings must always be in their final truth. The flames dance, casting shadows that mock the shape of my crown. I close my eyes and whisper to Ahura Mazda, Lord of wisdom, keeper of the cosmic balance. If I have failed my duty, if I have dishonored the throne of my fathers, strike me now. Let me fall before dawn, so history remembers a king who died with dignity, not one who watched his empire dissolve like smoke. I wait. The fire crackles. Wind moves through empty grass. Silence. The gods, it seems, prefer to watch me suffer. Dawn breaks like a wound across the horizon. My army assembles, 200,000 men, chariots fitted with scythes, elephants draped in armor. The largest force ever gathered under Persian banners. It should be enough. It must be enough. Across the plain, Alexander's formation appears, smaller, tighter, moving with the precision of a single beating heart. He has chosen his ground carefully. No rivers to trap his flanks, no mountains to break his charge, just open earth and the mathematics of death. My generals offer final counsel. The Bactrian cavalry will strike from the left. The scythed chariots will shatter their center. Victory, they assure me, is written in the stars. But I see their hands tremble as they point at maps. The drums begin. Our chariots surge forward, magnificent, terrible, unstoppable. They thunder across the plain like divine judgment made metal. Then his archers rise. Arrows black out the sun. Horses scream, chariots tumble, their wheels spinning uselessly toward heaven. Those that reach his lines find not chaos but a wall of spears angled with geometric perfection. The chariots break, the cavalry falters, and then impossibly his wedge formation drives through our center like a dagger through silk. I watch it happen as if watching my own death from outside my body. My guards form around me, shields raised, but the formation is crumbling, not from Alexander's assault but from within. Units fall back without orders. Satraps wheel their cavalry away from the fight. Generals vanish into the dust. This is not defeat. This is abandonment. "My king!" A guard grabs my arm. "We must go, now!" Alexander's cavalry breaks through, their leader visible even through the chaos. Golden hair, impossible youth, eyes that burn with the certainty of destiny. He is not charging toward victory. He is charging toward me. Our eyes meet across carnage, and in that moment I understand. This was never about conquest. This was judgment. The universe balancing scales I didn't know were tipped. I turn my horse. I flee again. But this time there is nowhere left to run, no empire to return to, no throne that still bears my name. The desert swallows everything. Days blur into delirium. My remaining guards grow silent, their loyalty a brittle thing stretched too thin. We ride east toward Bactria, toward some imagined safety that exists only in my desperation. Then they stop. Issus, my Bactrian satrap, dismounts. Others follow. They form a half-circle, blocking the path forward. "My king," Issus says, his voice heavy with false sorrow. "The empire needs new leadership. Someone strong enough to negotiate peace, or continue the war properly." I understand before he finishes speaking. "You would betray your king?" My voice cracks, not with rage, but with exhaustion. "I would save Persia," he replies, "something you can no longer do." The blade enters my side, cold, final, almost a relief. I fall from my horse into sand that drinks my blood without ceremony. They leave me there, a king dying in dust, unmourned by the very men who swore oaths in gilded halls. Time becomes strange. The sun moves wrong. Maybe hours pass, maybe moments. Then hoofbeats. Macedonian scouts, their armor catching desert light. They dismount, approach carefully. One of them kneels beside me. "Fetch Alexander," he says urgently. "The Persian king lives." But I know Alexander will arrive too late to hear my voice. He will find only a body. So I speak to the wind, to the gods who ignored my prayers, to history that will judge me without mercy. "You have done what I could not," I whisper, blood staining the words. "You ended a kingdom already dying." The confession brings unexpected peace. My eyes close. The crown, that unbearable weight, finally lifts. Somewhere above, stars begin their nightly watch, indifferent, eternal, as all thrones eventually become. Alexander arrives at sunset. His horse moves slowly through the desert, its hooves disturbing sand that has already begun to reclaim my blood. He dismounts before reaching me, as if approaching something sacred, or broken beyond repair. He kneels beside what remains of the King of Kings. My eyes are closed. My chest no longer rises. The crown that once commanded continents lies half-buried beside me, just another piece of metal returning to earth. For a long moment, he says nothing, just stares at the face of the man he spent 3 years chasing across the known world. "Cover him," Alexander finally commands, his voice tight with something that sounds almost like grief. "With my own cloak." His officers exchange glances. One speaks carefully. "My lord, he was the enemy. He was a king." The words cut like blades. "And he will be honored as one." Purple fabric, Macedonian royal purple, drapes across my corpse. The irony would make me laugh if I still had breath for it. Alexander stands, studying the emptiness around us. No palace, no army, no loyal generals offering final prayers. Just sand and silence and the body of an empire that died before its king did. "Prepare a funeral procession," he says quietly. "We take him to Persepolis. He will be buried with his ancestors, in the tomb he was born to fill." The procession moves like a ghost through lands that no longer know their own name. Soldiers line the route, Macedonian, Greek, Persian turncoats, watching as the body of Darius III returns home for the last time. Some bow, others simply stare. All understand they are witnessing the end of something ancient. Word spreads ahead of us. By the time we reach Persepolis, the city has already begun mourning. Not for me, for itself. The palace gates open. Those golden halls where I once dismissed Alexander as a mere flicker now stand silent as tombs. Courtiers who fled watch from shadows, their faces carved with the shame of survival. Statira is there, my queen, returned by Alexander's mercy. Though mercy is just another word for power displayed through kindness, she does not weep. Queens learn early that tears are luxuries reserved for those without crowns. She simply places her hand upon the casket and whispers something I will never hear. They bury me in the royal necropolis, among the stone faces of kings who built this empire when it still believed itself eternal. Alexander himself oversees the ceremony. He pours libations, offers prayers to gods both Greek and Persian. He orders sacrifices that would honor the greatest of conquerors. But as the tomb seals shut, I see it in his eyes, something hollow, something unsatisfied. He conquered the world's greatest empire. He defeated the King of Kings. He rewrote the map of civilization itself. And yet, standing before my grave, he mourns, because he understands perhaps better than I ever did. There is no glory in defeating what was already falling. My voice from beyond, not a ghost, but memory speaking through stone. Empires do not fall in battle. They rot in silence, long before the sword ever strikes. Mine died the moment my satraps stopped believing, the moment duty became performance, and loyalty became negotiation, the moment I mistook the weight of tradition for the strength of will. Alexander did not destroy Persia. He simply arrived in time to watch it collapse. I blamed him. I blamed the gods. I blamed fate itself. But the truth, the unbearable truth, is that empires fall when those who lead them believe power is a birthright rather than a burden. When they worship the crown instead of the responsibility it represents. I was born to preserve an empire. But you cannot preserve what you do not understand. And I never understood that loyalty must be earned with every dawn, that divine favor is not inherited, but renewed through action, that the greatest threat to any throne comes not from external enemies, but from internal decay. The Macedonian conquered my lands, but my own pride conquered me first. The screen lingers on Persepolis at night. The palace still stands, for now. Torches burn in empty courtyards. The sacred fire flickers in its eternal chamber. Then, in the distance, a new light, orange, growing. Alexander's soldiers move through the city, carrying flames. Some say it was revenge. Others claim it was drunken accident. Perhaps it was simply inevitability, that some things must burn before the world can begin again. The fires spread. Stone cracks under impossible heat. Golden reliefs melt into shapeless metal. Columns that stood for centuries crumble like sand. Persepolis burns. The city that called itself eternal proves, in the end, to be as mortal as the men who built it. The screen fades to black as smoke rises toward indifferent stars. And in the darkness, one final truth remains. Power, once worshipped as eternal, exists only at the mercy of time, loyalty, and the will of men. All empires are temporary. All kings are dust. Even those who forget they are human.